Okay, we're getting ready to begin the broadcast. This is only going to be a very short one, so stand by. Hey everybody, my name is Ibis Fernandez, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to draw or how to make an easy multi-angle prop. This is something that I've explained before, but I guess I've just kind of gone into it in other tutorials and never really expanded too much about it. I've had some questions about it recently, so I figured it would be a good time to basically, do a formal tutorial on that. It's really not that hard. I'm not going to go into the process of actually drawing the items, but I am going to demonstrate how to build it. So I have my little tablet here. Yeah, I think you can see it. And hopefully the sound is coming out okay. If it doesn't, fortunately, this is not going to be a very long tutorial today. So I could probably just redo it again if I need to. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I have here. Basically what I did is this particular prop I built using iClone, and I exported as PNG images, which I further tweaked inside of Photoshop. It was a really easy process. You get a prop, you export it as PNG, and modify it at will. So whatever program you want to use, whether it's Photoshop, whether it's iClone, whether it's Flash, Adobe Animate, Illustrator, it doesn't really matter. You can draw your props any way you want. And the reason I'm doing this tutorial is because I've been having a lot of questions about people trying to make props that you can pretty much turn to multiple angles just the same way that you would do a G2 character. And this is very useful to use in conjunction with G2 characters because they have the multiple angles. So here's the front angle of this prop. Here's a 45-degree angle. And here is the side view, the 90-degree angle. And let's see here. And then we have the back angle. So I'm only doing 4 views for this particular hat. And I prefer to use things like multiple angle props in conjunction with characters, because that way you don't have to make, like a hat for example, you don't have to make it so that it's part of the hair. That means that you can use whatever hairstyle you want on that character. And you don't have to worry about modifying his hair, because the hat is not going to be part of the head, and that gives you more versatility in terms of what you can do, like switching body parts around and accessories. So those are my 4 angles that I made, and I'm going to be turning those into like a smarter multiple angle prop. So let's see if we have, yep, we have CrazyTalk launched, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop these props into CrazyTalk, and it's important to turn each one of them into an independent prop first before we can do this. I believe you might be able to do it through the sprite replacement feature. Not entirely sure. I think you can. Actually, let's try that method first, and then we'll go with the other method that I was going to demonstrate. So I'm going to bring in the front angle first. And with the first angle selected, I'm going to go into the prop composer. And in here, I'm going to select it one more time. And I'm going to go to the sprite editor. Now with the sprite editor, I don't remember exactly, but I think you can just drag and drop your sprites in there. So here's my 45, here's my 90, and here's my 180. That's working out a lot better than I thought. I didn't remember if you could simply drag and drop the sprites in there. So let's take a look at what happens when we switch sprites. They all kind of landed on the center. So now we have a multiple sprite prop. So I mean, the easiest thing to do at this point, if if you just don't want to mess with anything, is just leave it as is. You basically have a multiple angle prop that you can use and at any time by using the sprite editor to just change the sprite to whichever sprite you want it to be. Now, the other method that you can use is we're going to bring in, now this one, see how it has like this weird edges and stuff? We'll need to do some fixing because, you know, Photoshop stuff, you know, edges and things of that nature. So let's see here, which is a sprite that has that? I think it's that one, that one. So 3 of these props have it. I'm gonna go ahead and just bring this into Photoshop. This is not really part of the tutorial, but since I made this prop in Photoshop, I'm gonna go ahead and edit it that way. Let's see. If there's anybody watching, feel free to ask questions while I'm doing this. This is gonna take less than 30 minutes to do the entire presentation, so we won't be here that long this time around. Let's see what happened. Something weird looks like it happened. Oh man. So I was able to get rid of those ugly lines. This is the same thing again. I didn't want to close Photoshop just yet because I had 2 more sprites to make or to fix, and I didn't want to have to keep reopening the program. So deselect, save, go on to the next sprite. Should have drank some water before I started doing this stream. All right, we're done. Quick fix. And of course, you know, like if you are using Photoshop, you can come in here and do additional effects and stuff to it. We're not going to bother with any of that stuff at this time. So we have a clean prop, multiple sprites in there. If you already have your sprites in your custom area, at any time you can always add more sprites to it. The other method that I was going to demonstrate was bring in the sprite as a prop. Now you are kind of required to save this first, which of course gives you the additional flexibility of being able to bring in each sprite individually later on. So there's 0. There's 45. Oops, I'm trying to bring it in directly into the content manager. That's never going to work. This is that 90 degree. did I accidentally? Yeah. Replace that again because I accidentally overwrote that 45-degree angle. And we'll bring in that last one. Okay, so we have all our sprites that we need in our content manager, and we're going to do the same similar procedure that we did before. Actually, I think the previous procedure was probably easier, but I want to show you this additional way. So with this being done, let's see here. We open up the sprite editor, and from here you can add your sprites. Let's see here. Add. Okay, this will bring them in from the outside. Bring them in like this and start dropping them in there. And of course, once we have them in here, we can start playing around with the visibility, linking, and stuff like that. You know what? Thinking about it, the previous method, let's go ahead and stick to that. It's going to be a lot easier. That way we could just go ahead and move on. So let's retract ourselves. Let's backtrace ourselves back to the original method. And we basically brought in the sprites. I mean, that's the whole point of it. I was gonna go into the second method, but now I think about it, you know what? That's a little bit more time consuming, and working with the sprites themselves is definitely a lot faster. So, I mean, you can stop right there if you wanted to, but we're gonna make it a little bit smarter. So we're gonna go in here and open up the timeline. And what I'm going to do here is on frame 1, I'm going to have this sprite playing, and I'm just gonna, all I need is 1 frame. You can make it play for a longer time period if you want. It doesn't really matter. So let's see here. So that's there. Then we go to 45. We're basically creating keyframes on the timeline. Okay, and on here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this one. I think I should be able to flip it at this point. Let me see. Yep, I can flip it. And then I can go ahead and go back in here and do that. So I have something that looks like that. Of course, the next frame that follows is that one. So this is pretty much what the other method was going to end up doing at some point, but it involved like turning on and off sprites and things like that. And you know what? It's a good thing that I'm like talking about it out loud, because after I started doing it, you know, this other method is actually a million times faster. So let's just stick with that. So we have a timeline with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different states. At this point, we're going to go to collect clip, and we're going to bring in these clips individually. Okay. So we're going to go here, add to action menu, the first frame. We'll call it 0. Then we'll go that one, right click, add to action menu. We'll call it 45. And then we'll go to this one, 90. I believe it's 90, or maybe like reversing them. And this one would be the 180. And at this point, I forget what the other opposite numbers are. I'm just going to bring in a character, which we're going to be using to test it on. So here's Billy. This particular version of Billy is using a jacket designed by Auditunes, and it's available at toontitan.com. It's part of the Uncle Sam character that he made, the Sammy character. So I'm just using him that jacket as a prop as a prop on him. Let's see here. So we have. I'm going to use him as a reference real quick because I can't remember what the angle name was. So that angle should be. Let's see here. That angle is the 270. So I'm going to name this one 270. Select it again. Come on. Then we click here, collect clip, add to action menu. 270. Then we're going to one more time go here and which angle is this? 315. All right. So this is going to be the 315. Right click on the collect clip section. All we want is that one sprite. Okay, this is what you normally do when you want to add animation to a prop, and in our case it's an animation of 1 frame. That's all we're doing. I mean, technically I could do something like this, select the entire range and say add to action menu, and I call it spin. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so once we have this, we technically have a very smart prop that we can use. If you right click on the prop, you're going to have this in your menu, the different angles. So switch it to 0. All right, so we'll get rid of all of these things here. We'll just remove object animation. We'll get rid of any animation that this guy may have. And we're going to place it on his head. And maybe we'll want to fix that prop by adjusting the pivot point region. So we'll just kind of take that little red dot and place it right there and go back out. That should have worked. Why did it not work? Let's try it again. Maybe I did it wrong. I need to see my little lines. Let's see, preference. Show grid, world axis. There it is. That's what I need to be seeing. So I need to take that prop and place it there. I wonder if I have to do it with all of them. Unfortunately, yeah, that sucks. I wish I could just do it all. The other method does keep everything in place, by the way, but it's still not convenient now that I think about it. All right. So now we have a nice little pivot point so that when we do tilt this hat around, it tilts like that. We just kind of do little things like that with it. So now we have a hat. Now the problem is that, you know, a character doesn't necessarily have the you can have a multiple angle hat, for example, as part of the hair sprite, so that when you turn the character around, the link with the angles stay linked. The problem with that is that, you know, you want to be able to keep your props, like accessories and stuff like that. You want to make them so that they're reusable. You want to be able to use them on any character you want. Let's see here. So here's the green Sammy, and he has a different hairstyle. Now the problem with this character, I mean there's no problem with him. I mean, he's a perfectly functional character. He looks great, and when you turn him around, his hat is linked. So that's definitely a benefit. However, the drawback is that this hat, if I want to use this hat with this character, then his hair will come with that hat, but I want to be able to keep this hair. So it keeps these type of props more versatile so that you can interchange them with characters without having to necessarily replace the hair. Let's see, characters. I'm gonna bring in Icarus. Icarus has a different hairstyle. It's built on the same framework, so any of the body parts and stuff are interchangeable between them. So I could take this hat, put it on him, but it's going to replace that hair, and we don't want that. However, what I can do is I can take this hat, if it'll allow me, and place it on him, and now I don't have to worry about modifying the hair. All right. So with this, with this little piece of knowledge, you know, in mind, what we can do next is we can link the prop to the body by using the link feature, which is linked to the head there. I'm going to link this one to this guy's head. So now when he moves his head, the hat moves with him. Okay? And same thing can be done with this guy. Now the problem, or the drawback really, because it's not a problem, we've already solved it, is that whenever we do need to use a different angle on this character, we change the angle, well, that prop stayed facing forward. Now, unfortunately, and I hope that Reallusion is listening to this, it would be nice if we can add for CrazyTalk Animator 4 or Cartoon Animator 4 the ability to link a G2 angles, G2 character's angle to any prop, to any sprite within a prop or something like that, so that when we do switch an angle, the prop can respond appropriately. I don't think that's a big feature to add. It seems like it would be very easy to do, but this is the solution for now. We're gonna go here. We're just gonna select our angle. Notice we're not having to open up the sprite editor or anything. And remember that thing that we did with the whole spinning thing? I mean, we could, let's see here. Let's do a quick animation. Let's bring in that. This might be a good demonstration of that, of something, of when you would use something like that. Let's see if we can find that MJ little dance number. Let's see. Here it is.
Shimon.
All right, that looked great. That's 121 frames long, so I'm gonna, from the start, I'm going to minimize that timeline to 121. And I'm just gonna now go back and do a pass to fix the hat angles. So I'm going in here. Okay, here he switched his head. I just follow along. And I'm going to right click. And he's going to be using this 270, I believe. No. Which angle is this one? 135? I get 315. I get confused with the angle names. 315. No, 45. Jesus, I'm doing bad today. Oh, come on. It doesn't seem to have kept the angle. It should be 315. Let's take a look at the sprites. That's not gonna help. All right. Well, I guess it did not retain the mirroring, so we'll just do that manually. And let's see, make sure I did that. All right. So we're just gonna keep pushing forward. So we'll go to the 90 since we know it didn't retain the angle that we wanted. All right, I'm just gonna quickly scrub through the timeline just to see the adjustments that are being done. Okay, so right here the angle's changing again. We're gonna just switch it to the 180. We're gonna keep going. Just gonna do some additional tweaks. All right, back to 90. Right, menu 90. But we're gonna do this. And we're gonna go here, right click, and we're looking at the 45 again. And then we are going to find where he switches. And switch to the front. And at this point, I'm just gonna do like a little additional bit of animation here just for the heck of it. Since I'm on a roll,
Shimon.
come on, respond. There it is.
Shimon. Shimon.
And at this point, I'm just kind of screwing around.
Shimon.
Let's see. Oh, I have an idea. Actually, this might work better because that hat is pretty huge. It's bigger than his feet. I have a pretty good idea. Let's see here.
Shimon. Shimon.
Right there. We'll get rid of all these.
Shimon.
Just send that hat flying like he tossed it off screen.
Shimon. Shimon.
That'll look kind of cool.
Shimon. Shimon. Shimon.
That's good. And now that little thing that I did where I just basically copied all the sprites, I can actually use that. So like maybe there. I can call it spin. Spin. And basically see how all the little sprites are like spinning. And I just add a bunch of spins to it. Actually, I don't have to do them one at a time. I can go in here somewhere. Let's see. Motion. There it is. So I'll take that one and I'll just loop it. So that hat just kind of spins around as it leaves the stage.
Shimon.
So let's see what that looks like once we have it nicely framed. So I mean, this kind of, you know, like always what happens is that I start with one thing and I end up with another. I wasn't intending to do any kind of animation work today. I was just going to show you guys how to do the multiple angle sprites, but it's easy enough that we can show, you know, we can show it in action. Let's see, here's my camera. Get rid of that keyframe.
Shimon.
Let's make it a little bit more over here.
Shimon.
All right, so that is basically how you create or assemble a multiple angle prop. It's very easy to do. You can do it in Photoshop. You can do it in Animate. You can do it in, you know, any kind of vector-based, bitmap-based, raster-based program that you want to use. The idea is to create multiple independent props that kind of match the same size. If you're doing it for multiple angles, then, you know, maybe become more familiar with the angle numbers than I am apparently. But when you assemble it, piece together using the collect clip so that you can have access to your prop using the right click menu. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can always use
Shimon.
you can always use the what do you call it, the sprite editor to just kind of, you know, flip around the sprites as needed. But you know, sometimes you're gonna need like full-on little bits of animation, or sometimes you just don't want to be opening up multiple panels. You just want to be able to go, okay, this is this prop, and I want to switch it to the 45-degree angle, or I want to switch it to the 0 angle. Easy as that. So that's going to be the best way to do it. It becomes a smarter prop. You can link it to any object. And you can also make it part of an internal character. So let's do this real quick. Before I close out the video for today, I'm going to show you how to turn this as to a more permanent part of the character. So let's bring in a different character. I'm gonna assemble my own sort of derivative character based on Sammy, which I really like. I'm gonna use the green Sammy. When you purchase Sammy from toontitan.com, he's gonna come in the original Uncle Sam state by default. You do get a bunch of like, I think it's 3 different stylizer packs that you can use to stylize them. For this one, St. Patrick's Day is coming up, so let's kind of make them a little bit more leprechaun-ish. Okay, so let's make a little leprechaun for St. Patrick's Day. Let's see here. So we got the green Sammy. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep that hair, although he would make a great, you know, leprechaun hair from there. Let's bring in Icarus. Where is Icarus? There's Icarus. And I guess those shoes could be okay. No, he could use like boots or something, right? Yeah, he'd probably be better off with boots. So let's I'm gonna take Sammy's outfit, or it might be easier to just take Icarus's hair and ears and put them on Sammy. Let's do that. So we're gonna cannibalize the body parts from this character from Icarus. Go into composer mode, body, and let's see here, head, ear, and we're just gonna save. What we're basically doing is extracting the body parts from one character so that we can use them in the other. And the reason these body parts are going to work perfectly fine is because they're all based on the B2 framework, the Billy 2.0 framework. Just name it whatever you want, really. And then we'll get some hair. Let's see here. All right, so we have that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this hat as a permanent prop. Okay, so I am going to select Sammy, and I'm going to go into the composer mode. And in here, what we can do is we'll go to the head, And see how like Sammy's hair is part of the hat. So normally you don't want to do this unless you want to definitely keep that item specific to that character. I personally like having the hair that I can use and cannibalize and use somewhere else, or the hat somewhere else, and ears or whatever body parts. I don't like making them permanent like that, but it's very useful in many cases because some of those things are features that are specific to the characters. So here's a nice little Icarus hair. I'm gonna drop it in there, and it's gonna replace Sammy's hair. And now we have something like that, which you're probably gonna have to tweak a little bit more in terms of color. And let's see here. We're gonna bring in our props. And I'm pretty sure I saved it in here somewhere. Here's the leprechaun hat. Okay, so I dragged and dropped it onto the front hairspray. That way it kind of stays attached to it, linked to it. I'm gonna move this little pivot point thing so I can keep it in here. And let's see here. What else can we do? Oh yeah, the ears. Head. And here we go. And while that's happening, actually I think it probably finished. So we have that. So now we just got to go back and fix the colors a little bit because they tend to get messed up a little bit whenever you're cannibalizing body parts, mixing and matching things. Let me see if I can find Sammy's stylizers. Pretty sure I have them here somewhere. Let's see. They've got to be in here somewhere. Test plugins, textures. Can't keep track of anything. Here they are. Let's see. Extract them. So we'll go with this Irish theme here. View, large icons. So there was no damage to the clothing, so we're not going to bother with that, but I am going to bring in the hair. And I'm going to apply that hair color to him. And let's see here, let's bring in that skin color and apply that. I think everything else kind of stayed fine. And we'll get rid of the stylizers now that we're done with them. And for whatever reason, that hat is way up there. Oh, that's because of the animation, I think.
Shimon.
Where is this guy's hat? Should have. The heck?
Shimon.
Well, that was kind of stupid. I think I just stumbled into a bug. Let's apparently if you animate something and save it as a prop, that animation stays in there. That should not have happened. I'm not sure why that did that. Let's remove that animation and place it where it needs to be. Now the benefit to this method is that basically this prop is now part of the character. So it doesn't have to be linked to anything. Basically,
Shimon.
it's inside of the character. If we go into the composer mode, give it a few seconds. If we go into the composer mode, you can see that this prop is basically added as part of the character. It's not really part of the character, but it's attached to him like on a more permanent basis. So if I save this character, it'll be saved with that prop in place. And the bigger benefit to that is that you can also use the layer panel for this. So if I ever run into an issue where I want him to be holding his hat, maybe, let's see here. Holding his hat like that. Well, I mean, he's kind of got, you know, a layering issue happening, right? Because it's intended to be on top of him, right? So what we can do here, since it's part of the character, technically we can go into the layer manager and say we want this hat to be behind the torso, and then we also want that hat to be behind the hip. So now he has it down there. So it's between his arm and his torso. So that's one benefit of being able to attach a prop to the character inside. So it doesn't always have to, you don't have to always have to do it, because you have the option to do this later on, but those are multiple methods. Let's see here. I get a little bit obsessive sometimes about, you know, a little grip. Okay, that should be good enough. All right, so hopefully that gives you some more ideas. Always end up giving you guys a little bit extra than you bargained for. But in review, to make a multiple angle prop, all you have to do is get all the different states of the prop that you want. It doesn't just have to be for hats. It doesn't have to be for like, you know, things like this, accessories. You can do it for objects. You can do complete characters. You can do entire characters. You can do that are props. You know, you can do like a frog that you can turn to multiple angles. You can do a ball that you can bounce around, and as you throw it around, it'll spin. You can do you know, globes. You know, like the planet. You know, like you know, you can do all sorts of props. You know, a doghouse that you can just flip around, depending on the scene that you're shooting. So hopefully this gives you some good ideas to work with. We're coming up to the 50-minute mark, so we almost hit that 1 hour mark. That's good. Gives us a nice little piece of content. If you enjoy these type of videos, basically, you know, let me know, guys. I know I don't always do a good job about letting people know when I'm gonna go live, but you can always subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon, and that's going to notify you every time I go live. You want to keep up and be able to participate live with me, ask me questions while I'm doing this. I love that kind of stuff. It helps the community out because you might have a question that other people have and I haven't thought about it, so that in order to ask it. So yeah. But after this broadcast, the video is going to be re-uploaded. You're going to be able to see it, rewind it, share it with people. Trying to reach that 1,000 view membership. What do you call it? Subscribers. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. So help me out. Help me out with that. We'll be able to get more stuff done this way. If you have any more specific videos or topics that you'd like me to touch on, or even commentaries, if you want to know my opinion on certain things, I'd be happy to share that. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off for now. Again, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, be notified. Send me your comments, suggestions, and stuff. And if there's anything else that I forgot or I missed, well, just let me know. See you later, guys.